The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the Farmington Town Council meeting and ask you to join us to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item on the agenda is the two Eagle Scouts that we have tonight to honor, Jack Pelham and Matthew Bone. CJ?
I'll get these all straight. Jack's up first. Camera here. Live. This is the second time Jack gets to hear the proclamation. We went to the actual event with the Boy Scouts. It was a great event, very well attended, and fantastic accolades all around. I will just read the proclamation, but it really is a tremendous feat. 2% of all Boy Scouts only achieve this, and Jack is incredibly well respected by the group there. So, with no further ado, the proclamation reads, whereas the Boy Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which will serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Boy Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Boy Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Jack Pelham from Troop 68 Boy Scouts of America recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout, and whereas Jack Pelham planned and executed the construction of several benches and signs for educational purposes at the Hillstead Museum, and whereas Jack Pelham has demonstrated superb leadership skills by completing the Boy Scouts National Leadership Training, serving his troop as a member of the Order of the Arrow, as well as patrol leader, troop bugler, and camp bugler. In 2017, due to Jack's leadership, his patrol was awarded first place at the Connecticut Rivers Council First Aid Meet. And whereas Jack Pelham serves as Farmington High School Symphonic Band President, was awarded drum major, plays on the Farmington High School varsity volleyball team, and was inducted into Tri-M, the Music National Honor Society in 2017, whereas as a result of Jack Pelham's effort, the lives of people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend to Jack our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim May 8th, 2017 as Jack Pelham Day in Farmington, Connecticut, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 22nd day of April, 2018. Nancy W. Nickerson, Chair, Farmington Town Council. This time you actually get to keep the plaque. And a very fashionable Farmington cap. Thank you. Congratulations. Nice. Matt. Again, listening to the other Boy Scouts when we were at the event, and listening to their leaders and the people that guided them, parents, throughout this process was incredibly impressive. And when they were getting up to speak and thanking the people that were responsible for getting them there, very selfless, not taking the credit and saying, look at me like we see so often, but saying thank you to all the people that got me here. Just incredibly impressive, and both of these very impressive young men. So, the proclamation. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America help train the youth of our community with skills which will serve them well in the future, and whereas many of our youth participate in activities of the Boy Scouts of America which benefit our community, and whereas one of the crowning achievements of Boy Scouting is the attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Matt Plona from Troop 68, Boy Scouts of America, recently completed the requirements for Eagle Scout. And whereas Matthew Plona performed needed landscaping for the Church of St. Patrick's in Farmington, he removed and replanted shrubs to beautify the shed and removed a statue, as well as performing other tasks to beautify the property. And whereas Matt Plona has demonstrated superb leadership skills by completing the Boy Scouts of America National Leadership Training and serving his troop as Assistant Patrol Leader and Senior Patrol Leader. Whereas Matt Plona participated in Farmington High School music and performed in every Farmington Public Schools drama production since 7th grade. And in 2017, won a Halo Award for his role as George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. And whereas, as a result of Matthew Plona's effort, the lives of the people of Farmington will be enriched and enhanced, now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Farmington Town Council, we hereby extend to Matthew Plona our best wishes, and we hereby proclaim May 9th, 2017, as Matthew Plona Day in Farmington, Connecticut, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 22nd day of April, 2018. Nancy W. Nickerson, Farmington Town Council Chair. Get your cap. Very few of these out in the public, so.
Well, congratulations to both of you on behalf of the council, and it's quite an extraordinary achievement that you both accomplished, and you're with your families as well, helping along the way, I'm sure. So congratulations. We now have a proclamation that I'm going to read from here. Helen McGuire is not here tonight. I had the privilege of attending her 100th birthday party on May 1st, last Tuesday. And believe it or not, she's from Ireland, or her family is. There were cousins and other family that came from Ireland for this birthday party with her and spent time, and other family that was in the United States came to visit her for her 100th birthday party. And I'll tell you, she is an amazing woman and spoke to everybody about where she'd been and her travels and what she'd done. Just amazing. I hope when I'm 100, I'm that spry and spunky. So she was a wonderful woman.
When?
She said she was going to be watching it on TV, so you may want to say hello to her.
Hello, Helen.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday again. And your proclamation. Whereas Helen McGuire was born on May 1, 1918 in St. Francis Hospital and was raised in West Hartford, Connecticut. And whereas Helen McGuire was the second of 5 children born to Mary Burke McGuire and Michael McGuire. And whereas Helen McGuire attended Our Lady of Sorrows School and graduated from Mount St. Joseph's Academy in the 1930s. And whereas Helen McGuire resided in 25 Thomas Street, West Hartford until 1990, when she purchased her first home on Fairwood Farm Drive in West Hartford. And whereas Helen McGuire worked at Billings and Spencer after she finished high school, then went on to work for Cigna for many years. And whereas Helen McGuire enjoyed duckpin bowling and visiting New York City. And whereas in the 1960s, Helen McGuire became the first of her siblings to visit Ireland, where she met many extended family members, including her mother's sister and many of her first cousins on both sides of her family. And whereas throughout her life, Helen McGuire has enjoyed needlework, knitting, crocheting, shopping, and traveling, and is known for always being generous, compassionate, and loving to all that she called family. Now, therefore, I hereby wish Helen McGuire a very happy 100th birthday and officially declare May 1st as Helen McGuire Day in Farmington, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this first day of May 2018. Congratulations again, Helen. Thank you. Now we have the Stephen Fliss Scholarship. Bob.
So first and foremost, want to take a quick moment to thank all the candidates that applied this year. I think Erica and CJ would agree with me that we had quite an impressive group of individuals apply and really made us feel proud to be a part of this community. Jonathan Olszewski, our recipient this year, it might be a feeling of deja vu for some of you. He was up here not that long ago receiving his Eagle Scout honors. Aside from your outstanding resume, I think there's a lot of things in your application that really impressed us. I'll touch on a couple of them. The main thing was your dedication to public service. Obviously, your Eagle Scouts is a big part of that. Collecting 3,800 pounds of food with your friends for those in need. Very touching. And last but not least, in your essay, you quoted JFK, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." That mantra is what helped me decide to get into public service at a later age than you, but the fact that that's where your mind is at this young age, I felt that was incredibly impressive. The last point I'd like to make is to your parents. I assume this is your parents here, and I'm a firm believer that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old at home, and to put it candidly, if in 15 years they're handling themselves the way your son has, I know I'll feel extremely proud, so I hope you do. Right now I'm just settling for getting potty trained, but long way to go there. So without further ado, for the resolution, whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship was established in 1985 and dedicated to Stephen A. Fliss, who served as town manager of the town of Farmington from 1955 to 1985, and whereas the scholarship was established for Farmington residents seeking a college degree in public administration and/or public service, and whereas Jonathan Olszewski of Farmington submitted his application to the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee, and whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee unanimously chose Jonathan Olszewski's application and has approved the scholarship award of $500, and whereas Jonathan was elected by his peers to Boy Scouting's Honor Society, the Order of the Arrow. He served as Relay for Life team captain from 2014 through 2017 and has worked on a town-wide scouting for food drive from 2008 through 2017. Jonathan also volunteers at numerous other events, including Jason Adorno Memorial Bike Ride and National Trails Day and conservation events. And whereas Jonathan Olszewski will be attending the Delaware Technical Community College, where he can continue his degree into public service by pursuing a criminal justice degree and career in law enforcement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council commends Jonathan Olszewski on his scholarship award and hereby encourages his continued success for his future studies. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 8th day of May, 2018. Nancy W. Nickerson, Farmington Town Council Chair. And we'll get another hat. Two. So do it wisely, and what you didn't get last time was a check. More important, so congrats again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And actually, I think if you look at some of the pictures back there, you'll see Mr. Fliss in some of the older pictures. But he's in those pictures as the town manager. So it's pretty neat. Our next presentation, CJ, Bike Friendly Farmington.
Fun sitting down here. Okay, we just wanted to take a couple minutes. This is Ron and Judy, who are members of Bicycle Friendly Farmington, some charter members of Bicycle Friendly Farmington, and to give you an idea of what we've been doing from Bicycle Friendly Farmington's point of view. That's a community organization that is promoting bicycle riding, bicycle safety, and a bicycle-friendly community throughout town. It's worked in conjunction with the Bicycle Advisory Committee, which is a town committee, which is more responsible for actually enacting things in town, putting up signs, painting showers, that type of thing. But you all should have a list of the accomplishments. I'm just going to read off of them for the folks at home. Some of the things that we've done since we established bicycle-friendly farming in town. The League of American Bicyclists. This is the national organization, sort of the overseer of everything bicycle in the United States. We became a bicycle-friendly community, one of only 9 currently in Connecticut. I believe we're the second in the state to achieve that status. It's an incredibly detailed questionnaire that we had to go through. The town put in a lot of time and effort to go through that and to find out what different criteria we had already met and what we needed to do going forward to continue that. We also, through the League of American Bicyclists, have certified training instructor as a member of Bicycle Friendly Farmington, so he can train others in Bicycle 101. Events. There are a number of events that we've done throughout town. The Bike to School Days event, which is coming up, what's the date, Ron?
25th.
The 25th. We've had Union School, and we're hoping to add Westwood School this year. It's an event that has the children, along with parents and teachers, supervised by police on the roads to make the roads safe, ride to school that day. Just helping them understand, and the parents understand, it's not so bad. It's good to ride your bike to school. We don't do it in the winter, we do it in May, so it's a nice thing. Bike to Work Day events. We're doing that this year as well, and that's going to be, where on New Britain Avenue are we having it?
At New Britain Ave and Coppermine in that parking lot, Shrub parking lot.
So we'll be having coffee, donuts, maybe something healthy there as well for people who are actually biking to work that day.
And our brand new BFF canopy.
And our brand new BFF canopy, which Ron is very proud of. The Explore BFF. This was an event where we had people ride into different businesses. It was kind of a passport program. You'd go to the business, get a stamp from the business. If you got a lot of stamps, there were different awards and prizes you could get, everything from bike helmets to gift certificates to different shops. But it was, again, letting people know you can bicycle around Farmington and get to different destinations. We also had a photo contest. Just take a picture of you and your bicycle, where you're going with it, what you're doing with the bicycle, different things like that. Adopt a trail, we're helping with the bicycle cleanups. So we try and get involved in the community on many different levels, but again, it's all circled back to letting the public know that riding in town can be safe. You have to be aware of where you are, what's going on, and what the best routes are to get to places. Rides, we have weekly social rides. We've got coming up in June 10th, a metric century and other rides. This will be mainly on the trails. We'll go out 62 miles and back, but we're also going to have different distances. So if you want to ride 10 miles, you can ride out on the trail 5 miles. We'll have it marked and circle back. If you want to ride 5 miles, you can ride 2.5 and back. But we'll have different markers along the way. At the 20-mile marker, we're going to have a rest stop, so there will be places to refill your water. There's some snacks, things like that. So we're trying to get people involved. We'll probably have a road ride option also, where someone who's a more serious rider and doesn't want to ride on the trail can ride on the roads and do that same distance. We've participated in the Adorno Festival. We had a ride with that the past few years. That's split off to become the Metric Century Ride this year. The Union Festival, we've had a ride at the Unionville Festival. Batterson Park, we joined with Bike New Britain and circled around Batterson Park. That was the first place in town we put sharrows on the road. New Britain had gone halfway around on the New Britain side of the lake. We took the other side, so we had a full loop around Batterson Park, which now has sharrows and is a bike safe ride. Vintage bike rides, where people come and ride their older bikes. And we have some breakfast rides where we'll go out on the trails and stop at a destination. We'll all have breakfast, take a little break, and ride back. So again, trying to get more people involved. Public education, we have pop-up clinics where we teach people how to care for their bikes, teach them about safety, make sure they're wearing a helmet properly. Believe it or not, some people have a hard time with that. It's kind of like when you first have kids and you try to put them in that child seat in the car. Sometimes it's not as easy as it looks, so we try and help people with that. maintenance and repair classes, bike safety tips. There was a kids' bike rodeo we had with the Adorno Festival, and we have a web page and a Facebook page also. In addition, we've got, we work on our advocacy and learning. Our people and our members will go to local, state, and national training sessions and educational sessions. We've been through different towns and different areas of the state. We've been out of state just to learn more and keep up to as much as we can. We want to update our safety guidelines so we're aware of how we can advise the public for their safe riding. And the signage recommendations, that's going to be a big issue going forward. There's tends to be an ongoing debate as to what type of signage makes people aware of bicycles on the road and lets the bicycles know what they are allowed to do without being unsafe. So with that in mind, I'll go through some of the things that we're looking to do this year, and hopefully as we, the council, start looking at what we're doing for our strategic plan, we can work some of these things in. Some we're already doing, some are no more than having conversations, but I just want us to keep these in mind when we're talking about that. The connectivity to the bike paths, the neighborhoods, the shoppings, the restaurants and schools, that's key. If someone's going to get on their bicycle, they're going somewhere, usually. They're not just going out for a ride. So we want to make sure they know the safest routes to get there and what roads are best to travel to get there. We've extensively gone through maps of the town, and we've got details on areas and roads we'd like to target. So that's something we can talk about. A lot of that happens with the Bicycle Advisory Committee, but that's something we'll be working on, again, with them throughout the year. The signage, again, we're discussing what type of signage is best to use. Pop-up bike lanes are more of an event thing. When we did the Unionville ride, we had what you call pop-up bike lanes. We had some of the rides on the trails, but in the spots where you had to get from Unionville School to the trails, we had cones on the side of the road, the police were there, and that's a pop-up bike trail. So you have that trail where it's safe, the police are there helping people cross, and then you get to a trail. So it's a short term, usually for a matter of hours at most. Sometimes it's a full day. Different towns deal with that in different ways. The Sharrows, again, that's the painted bicycle on the road with arrows next to it, letting people be aware that bicycles may be on this road and it's okay. Bicycles are allowed on the road. We also try and remind people, we do a sign every year around this time that says 3 feet to pass. If you're in a car passing a bicycle, you need to give them 3 feet. It's the law. Unionville Center, we worked in and around that area. That's a great connectivity area. The educational portion, some of the things we'd like to, as Bicycle Friendly Farmington, work with the town on is with the town newsletter, have some information on bicycle, whether it's bicycle safety or different things that are coming up. The town website, the same thing. Seminars, we've tried to do seminars, we've educated different people in those areas. The Friday folders at school, we put some of the safety information in there. School programs, we're working on some bicycle education programs within the school system. That's something we're talking to the Board of Education about. The Watch Me for Connecticut, Amy Watkins program, distributing bike safety info at the failures, events, things like that. And just requesting the officials, we have them currently coming to some of our meetings, also to getting them with Traffic Skills 101. And the chief has been a great advocate of riding in town, so we're sure we're going to get great support on that going forward. The representation at meetings. We have representation. We're working on getting more representation from the town, the Board of Ed, Parks and Recs, of course, and bike racks. We're in the process right now of getting some grants that will help us get bike racks at our destinations. You know, when you ride somewhere and there's no place to put your bicycle, it's a little frustrating. You're not usually going to leave your bicycle outside. It can be anywhere from a couple of dollars, or if someone's a serious bike rider, it's a few $1,000s for some of these bikes. They're not just going to leave it outside. So something that we need to keep in mind. The application for the Bicycle Friendly Community Status Upgrade. We're looking to do that. Again, we're in the process. It's a laborious process to some degree, but we've been through it once. We're just educating new people on how to help. And there's on the bottom for your uses, just bicycle knowledge. We had a few different spots. The CROG Complete Streets, League of American Bicyclists has a website that you can go to. Bike Walk Connecticut has some great educational information. Traffic, Streets, and Planning by Dr. Peter First has a great book there, and streetmix.com, another spot for bike reference. So these are what we're looking to, some of the things we've done. I'm going to give Ron 2.5 minutes because he had a couple of words to say.
I'm going to kind of be a downer on some of this, so, well, happy Bike Month. I'm going to keep this brief. I promise not to embarrass CJ in front of his peers, council peers. All right, so just imagine, it's July, family begins their Sunday bike ride in Granby. They start with breakfast in Simsbury. Miles later, oh, look, Dad, that green bridge is cool. I wonder what's on the other side. I'm not sure, Junior, but if we keep pedaling on this trail, there's a great place for lunch and ice cream in Collinsville. And there are plenty of bike racks in Collinsville on the return trip. Honey, I think there's a cute little tea place across that green bridge, and I need something for this headache. But sweetheart, we have the kids, and that bridge area looks so uninviting to bike traffic. I don't see any markings or signage to help us get there safely. It's okay, hon. I seem to recall that they went out of business recently, and it's only a tiny headache. 2 months later, here we are. I love our greenway. However, the bike trail doesn't always take us to where we want to go. It doesn't lead us to where we need to go all the time. It doesn't connect us to our neighborhoods, to our schools, shopping centers, or places of employment if you want to ride to work. And should we really have to carry our bikes to the trail by our car, with our car? I'm almost 5 years into this lifetime term, as it seems, as BFF chair. And I was actually hoping that we would have a bigger presence in town by now. People need to see changes, no matter how small. They need to know that an organization's goals are worth their commitment. So we all need to come together as a single unit. It's the only way that it's going to work. The questions, answers, decisions, they should all be discussed by all or everyone who's involved. So where do we go from here? As we talked about education. So did you know, for instance, that on roadways that are too narrow for bikes and cars to operate side by side, it is safer taking the middle of the lane rather than riding to the far right? Think of River Road. Good example there. Did you know that the white line along the shoulder of the roadway does not dictate where a cyclist must ride? I will forever hear people yell, "Get in the white line." Well, the white line is that far from the curb. It's not there to tell you where to ride, unless it's 4 or 5 feet wide and there's pretty painted bicycles in it, and it says bike trailer, bikeway. So a bicycle safety curriculum has already been discussed and could possibly make its debut the following September in our school systems. So children are going to learn and follow the guidelines put forth by the League of American Bicyclists, as CJ mentioned, the LAB. Teachers will be LAB trained. BFF's community outreach will be delivering the same information to adults townwide via a social media campaign. So it seems reasonable that Farmington's decision makers also be familiar with these guidelines by participating in the LAB's Smart Cycling course, which is also used to be Cycling 101, which CJ referred to. You know, if we're all at the table, so if someone says, oh, we didn't approve that, and it kind of trickles down to you at a bicycle-friendly Farmington meeting, you kind of want to know why. And there's no opportunity right now for that to happen, for everyone to be at the same table. So same table, same page, same destination. I'm almost done. I enjoy the challenges of helping to build a volunteer organization. This isn't my first. But right now, there's a roadblock in front of us. And we can find ways through it. But it has to be together, or we're really going to be content with falling way short of our intended goals, because we're being passed right now by other Farmington-friendly, other bicycle-friendly communities in Connecticut who even started later than we have. We're being passed. I go to their meetings. I go to a lot of different Connecticut seminars, and I hear what's going on with the other communities. So, thank you. And at your convenience, I invite all of you to pedal the town roadways with me. And that way we can discuss and you can see firsthand what needs to be done.
And one of the opportunities for that would be on our weekly bicycle rides. You can go to our Facebook page, which is officially Bicycle Friendly Farmington.
So that's on the bike trails. Where it's safe anyway.
It's going to be on the trails and it's going to be safely, but we also have discussions going around. Some of the frustrations I know Ron's felt is activity. It would be great, any of you could come to the bicycle friendly meetings and just get a feel for some of the conversations we have throughout that. And that's sort of what we're reaching out here for, just getting more involvement.
And CJ, we've talked a little bit about, when we talked about the strategic plan, about tightening up what the goals are of the Farmington
Yes.
Bicycle Committee, and kind of tightening up and having a more structured what the goals are, right? I think that would be helpful too.
Yes.
Take some of this and have, really have outcomes that you're trying to reach and that we could get to. I think that would be helpful too, instead of more in the cloud type of thing.
I think we have a lot of big ideas.
Right.
And those big ideas can take years to do, but as we're all talking about the strategic plan, we've got to target specific things. We've got to have something that's achievable within the time frame. So with that, I think our best targets right now are getting our east-west connectivity, because Ron mentioned, people loading the bikes in the car to get to some place where you're at the trail safely. If we can discuss getting there safely so we can get people to the trails so they can take the safe rides. Because if you're riding with your kids, you usually don't want to ride down Route 4. So you want to find some place you can ride from. So that's what I'd like to be one of the main focuses this year. Another will be trying to at least get our application in for the next level of bicycle friendly, so we can get up to the silver level from our current bronze. That's all we have.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Nancy Parent.
If I just turn this,
Yeah.
I feel like my back's going to be too, I think that to you will probably be a little bit clearer. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to come talk to you about our grant. I wanted to introduce Chris Montez. He is, it says, our Juvenile Justice Coordinator, but I think you probably have several different titles with the town, with us through several grants. But for those who don't know, we received a grant through CASAC, which is the Capital Area Substance Abuse Council, which came to us through DEMAS and through some of the federal funds. And that is to look at opioid abuse, many different facets, from people who might be abusing heroin to individuals who might have had an accident or an injury and started with pain medications to any other drugs and substances. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to give a little bit about the grant and what we've accomplished so far, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of our other initiatives.
Thank you for allowing us to be here.
And could you just talk into the mic?
Absolutely.
Thank you. There we go.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. We applied in November of this past year to CASAC, and actually the funding originated from the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services to CASAC, and then was spread out to the different agencies that applied. As you know, Connecticut and the rest of the country has an immense opioid problem. And Connecticut is trying in many, many different facets to address that. One of the best ways to address it is by awareness, obviously. And so what this grant has done is allowed us to have a number of initiatives to keep not only the public aware of the issue so that they understand, for example, parents, don't leave your pain meds in your medicine box where your 13, 14, 15-year-old kid can get at them, right? From that to educating doctors, veterinarians, anyone who can prescribe, you don't need 60 pills if the person really only needs about 3 days worth of pain medication. So there is now a law that was passed that requires doctors to report every single opioid that they write a script for. But they don't always do that. The CVS's, Walgreens, other pharmacies, they have to do it as well, but again, they don't necessarily, I'm not saying that they don't, but they don't necessarily do it when they're busy filling other scripts and things get really, really crazy. So we wanted to make sure that through the grant that both doctors and pharmacists would be well aware that they're supposed to report. So we did something that was a changed script. Are you going through this?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did a changed script. We also did the Narcan training and Narcan kits, which was the first responders in town, both career as well as volunteer, were not trained in administering Narcan, and sometimes they happen to be the first one at a car accident, for example, or a house that might be on fire. Somebody could have been using an opioid, and it's important that the first responders are trained in administering Narcan. So we had 80 of our first responders trained, as well as all 13 community services staff, and we all received our own personal Narcan kit, which is very expensive. As you see, it's $12,600 worth of Narcan, and so we didn't have to spend anything on that. And we had a drug take-back event very, very recently. 44 pounds of drugs were collected, and as you know, there is a drug drop-off box at the Farmington Police Department that gets used regularly.
We did the drug drop-off as part of the hazardous waste collection.
That was the first time we had done that,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, and 44 pounds, that's a significant amount, yeah.
So this is the change the script mailing that we did, and we worked with the Farmington Area Health District with several towns to do this mailing. And every mailing looked like this, and every doctor, again, every pharmacy, veterinarian, all received this, so that when they make sure, and dentists, thank you, that they're sure to report that they are going to, sure that they report in to the state of Connecticut when they write a script for an opioid.
And there was part of the consortium that we also did a few other things. For those that may go up West Avon Road, they may notice that there is a huge bulletin board on the side of the road for Change the Script. Just again, a further effort. That was one of the items that they did in Avon and Canton. It was combined Avon and Canton. To provide information. We're also starting a media campaign. We have someone who is working with us to provide some media sources and to be able to video some of the talks and to provide a presence to give people some information. That was one of the ways that we looked at doing things.
We're also just, it's not on there, but working with Miss Porter's school, because they often are kind of isolated, yet they have an issue, obviously, with just like any community or any school does with opioid use. And so we'll be working with them in the fall. Hopefully we'll get this grant again, but even if we don't, it's pretty easy to work with them and get a speaker to come. Actually, I'm aware of a young lady who became addicted and was a heroin user for a period of time. She's a college student at CCSU now and is no longer using, but she has quite a story. So Ms. Porters is very interested in hearing having students listen. So some of the other prevention efforts.
Yeah. Well, Focus is our local prevention council. That is a mixture between the police department, the schools, our youth services, as well as PTO leaders and through some of the school parents that are involved. The Teen Center. Teen
Center, we opened up a couple of years ago, or reopened it, and it has been busting at the seams, particularly on Monday nights when we have middle schoolers. Upwards of 35 middle schoolers, typically between 20 and 30, but upwards of 35. And if you know what middle schoolers are like, it seems like double that amount. And then we have high schoolers on Wednesday nights. So that's really been a great undertaking. We have a brand new pool table that was purchased with grant funds. We have a brand new air hockey table purchased with grant funds. We have an Xbox that was donated through the police department. And we have ping pong and this darts, basketball. So the kids are really, really having a great time there, and we have some funding to feed them as well. So we use George's, and that's been great too. So, and then youth and family counseling. Both Bob Marsh, my counterpart, and myself are trained in family therapy, psychology, etc. So we do a lot of work also with the schools. We do get a lot of referrals from the high school and even middle schools. So that's a regular ongoing effort. And adventure programming, Bob Marsh has been doing that for a number of years here, working with the Connecticut Wilderness School as well as taking some of his own kids out. We're fortunate enough to get some funding to buy some rock climbing equipment this past year, and we will be taking the police and youth out with the program. See it on there yet, Fun Cops, and we'll be doing some rock climbing with those kids and the police, which will be, I think, a lot of fun because building relationships is really what we're all about.
And also for adventure programming, they have courses at both Westwoods and Irving Robbins, and Bob Marsh, along with some other staff, lead them after school 3 days a week. So that's something that we do. Intergenerational program throughout the year. We have several different programs, especially during vacation weeks. Juvenile justice, the Juvenile Review Board.
Juvenile Review Board and diversion from the juvenile justice system is probably one of the most important things we could do, because the statistics show that kids who are involved with the courts are more likely to be re-involved with the courts. And by keeping kids out of court, we're keeping them from being involved in the system much, much longer and unnecessarily. So we meet twice a month, actually, in this room. And we get referrals from both the high school and middle schools and the police department, dependent upon the charges.
Shop with a Cop is a specific program for youths at risk, to give them a chance during the holiday time to actually go on a shopping spree with a police officer. It's actually funded by the Reach Foundation, and each year this year I think we had 5 of our police officers join the efforts, and then we match them with kids in the community through social services to be able to go shopping to get something for themselves and then for their family members as well, which is a really neat, and then they go out to dinner, and it's an event, and they keep in touch a little bit. And then the community service collaboration and opportunities. A good deal of the programs that we do in social services wouldn't be made possible without all the community service agencies and support, specifically a lot of the children or the youth organizations. During our holiday giving program, I have the cheerleaders helping us collect food. We have the fire cadets help us with other things. We've had the football team, lacrosse team, soccer team, almost every team helping us with a variety of things, setting up for the movies, with the concerts. We use a lot of the students for music to do some of our concerts and before our concerts. So it's all those collaborations that really help enhance our services. Right here is a few pictures. The first one is actually the cheerleaders with us collecting food for the holiday giving. The next one is a group of kids that helped with one of our community events. The third one in it is one of my favorites. It's a group called Joy, and it's just older youth, and it's a group of high school students that get together with senior citizens several times a month, and we typically do some sort of game or sharing. The night where they all talked about what it was like dating when they were younger was extremely interesting. They would give awards to the seniors at the end of the year, kind of like in school they give superlatives. They gave the senior citizens superlatives. The last is the alternative high school, helps us with a lot of our functions and extremely helpful. The bottom left is actually our summer adventure camp this summer. When I came to tell a little bit about our services, half these kids drove themselves to camp every day, which is pretty cool. So you gotta be doing something right. And then on the right is one of the activities that we did there. We take them on all the things that the parents just don't want to. Yeah, and then this is one of our team building activities. They're all trying to walk on a plank together simultaneously, which is actually really hard to do that. And then this last one this is Westward's Upper Elementary School. They came to the Senior Center to do a program. One of the neatest things about the music program at the high school is when they come do programs for us or at somebody's home or whatever, they always take the time to interact with the seniors as well. So it's not just the singing and the performing. They always try to come up with a few songs that they can sing together, but they're really encouraged to sit down and do that one-on-one, which I think is just critical. The last part is just a few of the grants that enable us to do some of the services, and I know we've mentioned some of them along the way too.
Fun Cops is Farmington, Unionville, UN Unionville. Community officers provide support. So we just on Sunday went to a Yard Goats game, and the day before that we worked at Maple Village doing some community service. But we've gone bowling with police officers and our kids from our caseloads and from the youth center. Like I said, we're going to do some rock climbing. We've done deep sea fishing, and that was a big hit. So I think we're going to try to get one in before the end of the fiscal year. Lots of other activities that bring kids and police together. It's great to have the police stop by, for example, at the youth center, and we'll do a cookout. I brought a grill over there, and it's easy to get some burgers and just spend some time. Our local interagency service team has been going on for a number of years. I ran it in New Britain, but it is the Farmington, greater Farmington area, 15 towns. Local interagency service team is a group of professionals that meet regularly, monthly, to look at the gaps in service regarding mental health and juvenile justice, and try to fill those gaps and try to support one another. So those towns go as far north as Granby, as far east, southeast as Wethersfield, and down to Southington and over to Bristol. And then we already mentioned Juvenile Review Board and CASAC grants, and State Department of Education does fund the Youth Service Bureau, and there is some enhanced funding for counseling, which is what I've been doing and very critical. Yeah, I was showing Nancy, I just got a text from one of my kids that I counseled, who's now in college, and she said, I'm celebrating 5 years today without self-harm because she was a cutter. So pretty exciting.
And one thing that's really interesting is just the evolution of youth services. A few years ago, we'd be saying how many counseling hours we've had. Now we're counting text messages, and I mean, all of us are texting. I mean, that's the way kids communicate. So it's sometimes hard to get your arms wrapped around all those interactions that you're having, because it's not typically always just that one-on-one. I mean, I have seen a few young ladies that I've seen for a few years, and they'll just send me a text, hey, I need to talk now. And then that alerts me to the fact that, that I need to meet up with them. So that's kind of sometimes hard to get a capture of.
I think I'm gonna write a book, Text Therapy.
Could be a winner. Here's a picture of the fishing trip. And then this last one just was this past Saturday. We did it was a multi-organization community service day. We had 2 churches in the area that were part of the service day, and then we had the Fun Cops. I don't know if you can tell because his head is down, but the neatest thing about this picture on the far left is that one of the residents at Maple Village was happier than anything. He is working right alongside those kids, and he just loved just being able to interact with the kids. And then we had a few people from the church group that came over. It was just really one of those days that you really felt the community.
One of those kids is me.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? That's great you're reaching out, like to Porters and to other organizations as well, because as many as you can touch, that's really the most positive thing, and hopefully that goes from there to someone else, to some, it's just
Great.
CJ.
If there's members of the public who are interested in getting involved and helping out, what's the best way to contact you?
To contact our social service office, 860-675-2390.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
I'm sure that's on our website too.
It absolutely is.
Okay.
Do I need to do anything to turn this off or anything?
I'll do it later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's no public hearing tonight, new items. public comment. If anyone would like to address the council, please come up to the podium, and you have 5 minutes, and just give us your name and your address.
Good evening. I'm Steve Langlois, 14 Blue Ridge Drive, Farmington, Connecticut. I'm going to read a letter. Last time I was a little intimidated when I spoke. I did make copies if you'd like to pass them, keep them.
Sure.
Town council members, I appeared before you at the January meeting on the same issue, and I was completely intimidated by the process, and after listening to all that went on, and the people speaking at the meeting, I did a poor presentation of response. I hope I can do a little better this time, but I'm not much of a public speaker. I get very self-conscious, so I'll try to do better with this being written. I received notice from Bruce Sear, the zoning officer in Farmington, in February to resubmit an updated plan of completion per your January decision. Thank you for that. On February 20th, I submitted a revised plan for complying with the town directive to clean up my yard. It stated a start of March into August and beyond to complete with the directive. It was also included in the plan that it was subject to weather conditions. On March 28th, zoning officer Bruce Sear sent a letter informing me of his intent to resubmit me to the town council to put me in blighted condition again. I called and spoke to him after receiving the letter and told him I had spent a month packing items to keep from outside and in the garage into tubs for some relocation. I explained the weather had kept me from doing the big cleanup outside and told him since the weather was breaking, I would be starting immediately. I'd like to say first, I did explain to Mr. Sear that the weather during the time of February 20th submittal of a revised agenda and his March 28th call consisted of 4 nor'easters, 2 snowstorms, and 5 days of heavy rain, totaling 7 inches as reported by Channel 30 News. I then had a dumpster delivered, started cleanup. I hired 5 guys from work to come help me. We cleaned the yard of all the leaves and brush first to enable a safe path to remove the water-damaged building material. We started removing some items to the dumpster, and this really took all day. I had a plan for the next day, on Sunday, but I canceled and rescheduled till the following Saturday, this past one, May 5th. The guys came on this date, and we proceeded to completely fill the dumpster. It's only the first of probably 3 or 4 loads that have to go. I have them coming again this Saturday, and I got a dumpster being emptied and returned on Thursday. I called Bruce Sear last Monday on April 30th to inform him I had started the work the past Saturday. He said he would come out and inspect. He did so the next day, Tuesday, May 1st, and promptly sent me a letter the same day to inform me he was sending it to you for addition for the council meeting tonight for put me on the blighted list again, as the work didn't meet the requirements of substantial completion. This is just unreasonable. I know he's just doing his job and enforcing the rules of his job mandated by your council. Secondly, what I paid over the 2 Saturdays for hired help and my reimbursing my boss for the dumpster usage almost exactly totals my after-tax take-home pay for the month. This was just 2 weeks' effort, continuing to cost me 2 months' pay every 2 weeks. This means I won't be able to pay current bills, including mortgage, insurance, property taxes, and I'll be in foreclosure if I keep up the pace of hiring help and not just doing it myself. I've had many financial setbacks in the past that do not have a large nest egg to fall back on. I try constantly just to get by and inch my way ahead, and I've never given up, and I will continue to move forward because I have my goals set. I accept the condition is of my own doing. I would like to bring attention that this is mostly building material that I've been accumulating, and not just general garbage or junk, and that I was just kind of lazy to throw away. Sadly, a lot of it became water damaged, and I'm losing over $20,000 worth of building material that just got water damaged. All this so I can enable a second floor. All this so I can enable adding a second floor onto the house to improve my property. This is to give me a nice home to retire in and fixing a home that was never originally built right to begin with. An added benefit would probably double my value and double my taxes to the town. With the loss of the material I now have, I've come to the realization I've got to scale the scope back to a more doable size. Still, I'm determined to add and complete as much as I can to improve it. I just want to live in a nice home. I'm asking that I not be penalized for my intentions and I not be put in a blighted condition and fined $100 a day. Again, that's just going to cost me another month of take-home pay every month on top of the loss every month of paying to clean up. On top of that, earning just enough to pay my current month bills. It's just going to result in putting me out of my house and losing it. Or I can quit my job and just devote all my time to comply. I lose either way. This won't benefit anyone. It just creates an undue hardship for me. I'll have to borrow to keep up as it is now and pay for cleanup and replace material that's necessary for my reduced scope. I just want to ask to remind you that the party I believe was responsible for the initial complaint finally fixed the problems on the house they were trying to sell at a price that wasn't in line with comparable values. They then sold their house for the asking price. They blamed their house on my house on a lack of sale, but after doing the repairs, they promptly sold it at asking price, even with my house in the same condition. I'm not aware from Bruce here or any additional complaints. I believe he's just completing due diligence on the original complaint. I believe the urge for immediate action could be relaxed, allow me time to comply with your will. I'm not trying to be either adversarial or disrespectful. I'm asking you to allow me the opportunity to complete both your wishes and mine. I'm honestly trying to comply. Just need time. Not to say this excuses me, I caused this problem, and I accept my need to clean up my property. I just ask for a reasonable time to do it without adding costs that will only result in me losing my house. I also ask for a give and take on some items for removal. I need to keep some of the good material there, and Bruce did ask me if I could relocate all the material off-site. You know, I have 30-foot long trusses. I can't move those again. I had to pay somebody to bring them in. I was asked, so it's just not logical. So giving me constant, unreasonable deadlines just kind of complicates my life and causes me a lot of unneeded stress. I don't need a stick over my head, I get it. I'll wait your decision. That's it. Doing my best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Other public comment? Okay, reading of the minutes. Bruce.
I move to approve the April 2nd, 2018 regular town council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any corrections? All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I happened to notice, and I didn't get to check with Edward on this, that let me get this. On item number J4, page 5, there was an update from the Economic Development Commission liaison, and that's Edward Gianaros, and it's listed as Paul Cianci.
Okay.
Just needs to,
Okay.
the names need to be changed.
Oh.
Thanks, Beth.
Any other corrections? Okay, all those in favor, as amended, as corrected, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Communications, Kathy.
You have the two written correspondence in your packet. One is that I wrote to our state representatives, and one correspondence came from Evan Coles, and that was from the Farmington Cemetery Association.
Okay, thank you. Report of committees. Yukon Health, no report right now. Land acquisition.
Madam Chair. Land acquisition met the second week of April, and the goal of that meeting was to update the land acquisition list to more accurately reflect the properties that the town is interested in acquiring. We've realized that the list keeps getting longer, but nothing has actually really been taken off over the time, so we went through each of the properties to make sure that the ones that are listed should still be listed, and actually did remove some because either they've been purchased or developed since they had been added. When this, currently Liz Dolphin, who's the consultant who assists the committee, has completed the actual paper copy of this. The updated list will be posted on the town's website, so that way the public has a better idea of which properties the town is truly looking to acquire. The next meeting of land acquisition will be this Thursday at 5 p.m. here in Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. Green efforts.
The Green Efforts Committee met last week. The big news for this month was the cleanup that occurred on April 21st. We had 160 volunteers, which is pretty common. It's about the same number that we've had every year. But there was 4.2 tons of trash picked up in town. That was the actual dump truck load weights, so it doesn't quite match up if you were to total up what everyone brought in, because we don't weigh at the community sites, we don't weigh the big items because we don't have a scale big enough. But it was 4.2 tons, and there's still, unfortunately, a lot of trash left in town for anyone who's noticed on the streets. So Green Efforts is exploring ways to continue that cleanup on a more regular basis, and encourages members of the community, if you want to take a day or some time to go out and pick up your neighborhood or adopt a street or two to monitor and pick up trash, that would be welcome. The other item that Green Efforts is working on right now is discussing the goals for the committee moving forward. One of the big goals from the last strategic plan was the Amoresco project of replacing streetlights and some other green initiatives, and that contract is pretty much up. So we're looking for what the next big ideas are going to be, and the focus on our next meeting will be those action items. And the next meeting is June 5th at 6:30 p.m. here in Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. Report of council chair and liaisons, the chair report. I want to, two things. One, I just want to say that I took a ride today down by the river and happened to go to the crew area where they're expanding the building, and it's just marvelous. And I just wanted to comment in that we talk about so many volunteers and volunteer activities in town and people that give up their time, and this boat in the crew area is just an amazing example of that. The 140 kids, I understand now, in the fall and the spring. And but all this is volunteer efforts that have made this happen. And it's just one example of so many things. Today, hearing about the bike committee, you know, and things going on in the streets, that's all volunteers that are helping out. But just a couple of examples, just amazing things. We have an amazing community. The other thing I wanted to mention was especially congratulations to Bill Silva, the principal of Farmington High School. He had an award for Superintendent of the Year, and I just want to offer our congratulations to him. There will be an event in his honor shortly, but just to say congratulations, and certainly we're very proud to have him in our system. Board of Education.
Madam Chair, the Board of Education met last night. They started with a recognition of the varsity ice hockey team, which was recognized for winning the state championship in March. And it was a very short meeting. I think it was might have been a record breaker. The summer learning programs are out for 2018, so there was a lot of discussion about new programs and locations and that sort of thing, but the booklet has been sent out to the community, so I would just encourage people to take a look at that and see what's available for children this summer.
Thank you. Something I didn't mention, I wanted to mention publicly, is that the council will be having a meeting on the 15th and meeting on the 22nd and 26th this month. So every Tuesday we will be meeting. Next month will be about the high school and a discussion of the high school for the future. So we encourage people to come into our public comment. And the other meetings are going to be about our strategic plan. So we encourage people to come and to hear and to comment if they have anything to add. That's it. Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, the Chamber is looking into having a round table on the second Mondays of the month. They have not started them yet, but their intent is to bring their members along with the TP&Z, the council, the Board of Education, in an informal setting where the businesses can feel more comfortable communicating with the townspeople. And they're talking about a butchers and bakers type thing where they could have some food, everyone sitting down and having a conversation.
Thank you. Economic Development.
Yes, the Economic Development Commission is hosting its quarterly business breakfast on May 16th. It's a free event, so anybody that's interested can go to the Explore Farmington webpage and you can get a free ticket on the webpage there. The event starts at 7:45 a.m. And the guest speaker will be Mr. Jason Giulietti. He's the Vice President of Business Recruitment at CERC and leads CERC's business development team. His team executes the International Business Attraction Practice on behalf of the state of Connecticut. Jason assists companies by identifying real estate, connecting them with professional services, introducing them to the ecosystem, and meeting other C-suite executives. So far, they have attracted companies from Israel, Brazil, and Germany, with priority industries including bioscience, medical device and instruments, advanced manufacturing, digital media, green industries, finance and insurance, and cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thanks. Farmington Historic District.
Yes, Madam Chair. Last month, the Farmington Historic Center had an application for the St. Patrick's Church on Main Street. It was a packed house here in the town council chambers, and recently it was approved to move forward to the planning and zoning. I think the plan that they presented in front of the Historic Commission was very well thought out. It's making some improvements that is needed, especially for ADA compliance, and I'm looking forward to seeing the work move forward. So, that's it.
Thank you. Housing Authority.
Yes, their last meeting was on April 25th, which was actually a reschedule, but it was their annual meeting, and there was a presentation by Nancy Parent of the Maple Village Management Plan for this coming year, 2018 to 2019. Something of note is that our town's Maple Village is coming up on its 50th anniversary in 3 years, but we're looking forward to, planning a recognition and celebration. It's just good to have that in mind. And there was a discussion about the significant need for affordable / subsidized housing in the area, and their next meeting is June 13th.
Okay, thank you. Human Relations.
Nothing to report.
Library.
Yes, the library board updated its policy governing patrons. So it's always been prohibited to smoke in the library, but one of the young patrons noticed there was nothing prohibiting vaping. So he went into the library and started vaping, and of course, kind of disturbed the atmosphere there. So they actually updated the policy to specifically prohibit vaping as well.
Wow. Thank you. TPC.
Yes, Madam Chair. Just to recap about the St. Patrick's Church, they presented in front of the planning and zoning as well. Packed house, a lot of discussions happening. It also was approved in front of the planning and zoning. One topic that was brought up was the parking on Main Street and what they can and cannot do to maybe prevent the church having their guests parking on the side of Main Street. So I think they are looking into, or I think the town planner is looking into to see if the state will be willing to put like no parking signs along Main Street where the church is today to prevent folks parking on the side. But that's to be determined, but it was approved to move forward. The second thing that they'll be talking about, it's going to be a public hearing in June to change some language in the Unionville Architectural Review Committee. I brought that up before, but now it's moving forward as a public hearing in June to change some language about the Unionville Architectural Review Committee and changing it to Farmington Architectural Review and some addition to some additional members to the committee. That's it.
Thank you. Unionville Historic District.
Yes, the Unionville Historic District completed their preliminary study report, and actually Kathy's going to speak about that in the town manager report, so I'll let her give the details in her report.
Okay, thank you. UVIA?
UVIA has its next meeting, is tentatively scheduled for May 17th at 7 p.m. They are actively seeking more volunteers and more people to become involved and figure out which direction UVIA wants to go next.
Thank you. WPCA?
Sewage treatment plant, construction is on schedule, on budget still. They're working out some details of some of the shared costs with Avon that have come up, but overall, things seem to be going pretty smoothly.
Great. Other liaisons? Okay, Kathy, town manager's report.
We have my written report, just a couple of things I did see in the patch, and I thought it was just interesting that Farmington did get an A+ for best places to live, and we were one of only 19 communities in Connecticut that received that. And we got an A+ as an overall grade and an A+ as a public school grade. So again, I just thought that was something to be proud of. Nancy talked about the grant that we received and some of the things that the Community Development Office is doing. We did have quite an honor of being on the front page of the Hartford Business Journal. I don't know if everyone saw that, but it was the front page, and Rose Ponte, her picture was on the front page, and I thought it was a pretty nice article. We got a lot of feedback about it from a lot of different communities, just about the recent economic development activities. So I had a copy of that for you all. Just another reminder about our Memorial Day Parade, and I will be at 8 a.m. in Unionville is the first where we start, and so be there at 8 o'clock if you're going to join for the march, and then we go to Farmington for 10 a.m. And lastly, we did get from the Unionville Historic District a preliminary study report, which I attached in your packet. This is going to the TPZ, and it's also to the state historic people, and then it's going to be coming back to us as a final report, I think in July they said, and we would be setting a public hearing on it for the fall. It's my understanding that everyone that is being considered to be added does want to be added to it, so this, I think they're going to be coming in July to give us some more information about it. And I don't know if you have any other questions.
Anything for Kathy? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the town manager's report for move to approve the town manager's report.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, appointments. Bruce?
Yes, I move that John Renahan be appointed to the Farmington Historic District Commission as an alternate member for the balance of a 5-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th of 2019.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move that Kathy Egan be appointed to the Greater Hartford Transit District for the balance of 4 years term beginning immediately and ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, thank you. Old business, new business, N1.
I move that the property tax rate of 27.18 mils be levied on the net taxable grand list October 1st of 2017 in the amount of $3,655,376,464 to meet the appropriation of the town of Farmington for the fiscal year beginning July 1st of 2018 through June 30th of 2019.
Second. Oh,
Kathy.
sorry.
That's
Do I have to finish the rest, right?
Yes, no.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, okay.
And this is since we passed the budget, and this is our official motion. Congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations to all of us and the town. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay. I move to approve the transfer of uncollectible property taxes to the suspense tax books.
Second.
The total sum is $41,597, and that according to the state statute, the tax collector has recommended the 2018 suspense tax book. This book has been compiled for the purposes of identifying sums that may be uncollectible, but it does in no way represent that we're still going to try to cancel out the tax. We'll continue to do everything we can. Those who own motor vehicles cannot register a vehicle in the state of Connecticut until the tax is paid. So we do have a book. If you do want a copy of it, just let me know, but we usually just do it like this.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And 3?
Okay. I move to cancel the June 26, 2018 regular town council meeting and schedule a special town council meeting on June 4th at 7 p.m. in the town hall.
Second.
Any questions? Kathy?
Just a note that we changed the item from the agenda because June 5th that was listed, there was some conflict on that, and I think that June 4th seemed to be okay with everyone, so that was the new date.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And 4?
I move that the following uncollectible capital improvements, capital improvement projects CIP balance be transferred to the accounts listed below for the purpose of closing out various inactive CIP accounts and reappropriating the surplus funds to the projects listed below.
Second.
If you remember, this is what we did during the budget, and this is just cleaning up the paperwork for it.
Questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just have one because it got late and long as we were discussing it, and my notes were not entirely accurate. I remember at one point when we were talking about the high school roofs, and CJ brought up the point of wanting to keep a number below $2 million, so we added $50,000 onto the capital budget for the high school roof item. Was that a cash appropriation, or was that a reappropriation from another fund?
That was a cash appropriation. That's actually, when we were going through all the changes, the road maintenance truck parks, we took the money, the 50 from that, we put it into the high school, and now we reappropriated money here for the road maintenance truck.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Other questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and 5?
I move to award bid number 269, maintenance and repairs of police vehicles for Farmington Motorsports of Farmington, Connecticut, and Edwards Motor Service of Unionville, Connecticut, in accordance with their bid proposal dated on April 12, 2018.
Second.
This would be for the period of July 1, 18 to June 30th, 2019, with the option to extend for another year. It would be to Farmington Motorsports to perform the mechanical work and Edwards Motor Service to perform the auto body work. We have used both of these groups for many years, and they do very good work for us, and I would recommend that we continue with them.
Question, Edward?
Yeah, just a quick question, I guess, on the procedure there. Is there anybody from the town that looks at the vehicle? Like, obviously for oil changes, those just happen periodically, but like if a transmission needed to be fixed, does the town, like someone from Highway and Grounds, verify that that's actually broken on the car, or are we taking them at their word when we send the vehicle to one of these shops?
I would say in general that it goes to the shops, but we do have mechanics on staff, and that we do use, we have 2 highway mechanics and things like that. The mechanics aren't the regular ones that are doing the police vehicles, but again, Joe, do you know, I wouldn't say that in general the highway mechanics are looking at the police vehicles. Is that correct?
That's correct. What'll happen is the vehicles go for regular service, oil change, things like that, to the, in this case, the Farmington Motorsports. They'll identify what they feel are things that need to be fixed on the vehicle, and they'll have to pass it through the supervisor. police department who's in charge of the fleet maintenance. And they'll verify and determine what's going to be fixed and what's not going to be fixed. Emergency repairs are the same way. Usually the major repairs result because we bring the vehicle in for that purpose. So if it breaks down, we notice it's not running properly, the service engine light goes on, so we'll bring them in. Normally what gets caught when the vehicle goes there for the regular service, primarily brake jobs, oil changes, and they do their routine inspection of the vehicle. But everything's passed through the supervisor at the police department. Anything that's a warranty item actually will go to a Ford dealership for repair. So if they do identify the transmission and the vehicle's less than 3 years old, we'll ship it to Ford to check for warranty work on it.
Okay, so basically the supervisor kind of has some discretion as to
Yes.
signing off on...
Right. No work is performed unless the supervisor at the police department, the fleet supervisor reviews it and accepts it or agrees to it.
Thanks, Joe.
Other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kathy, how many bids did you get for this particular?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
These, all 3 of these?
Yes.
Okay. These are not the lowest bid, but I imagine history with these vendors.
Joe, can you explain how it works with the low bid for these?
What we do, there's two, we look at the lowest bid, but we also look at the repairs and what happens when you, over the course of fixing a vehicle over the course of the year, how much we anticipate what it costs per vehicle. And we identify that vendor that submits the lowest cost overall, and not just for the particular service. And that's how we award. The other requirement, like if you look at bidder number 3, they're actually low in some areas, but we also have a requirement in there that the vendor has to be within 15 miles of the town. And when we map that out, they're not within the 15-mile radius of the town. One of the concerns we have with our vehicles is the ability of somebody to transport them back and forth. We actually will have the mechanic or the vendor come pick up the vehicle and then bring them back. So we require them to be within a radius of the town, and for that purposes. And also because if we do have to, Ed's question, if we do have to go out and inspect the vehicle, we don't want to have our supervisor driving 20 or 30 miles back and forth to check on something to look at the vehicle that, with the vendor.
And this one was in instead. So. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay, and 6.
I move to award bid number 273, large fire apparatus maintenance to the First Line Emergency Service of Cromwell, Connecticut, in accordance to their bid submission dated April 13, 2018.
Second.
This is to go with our fire apparatus, and it's to provide maintenance and repair services for all our large fire apparatus in the fire department. Apparatus to be serviced under this award would include engine pumpers and the aerial ladder truck. We've reviewed the bids and are recommending that we go with First Line Emergency Services as the lowest responsible bidder. And this again is a 1-year contract with the option to renew after the 2nd year based on satisfactory performance and funding.
Questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kathy, lowest responsible bidder, I'm assuming that means something different than just lowest bidder, so.
I can have Joe respond to that.
That's not to refer that any of them are irresponsible. That's wording that's, I've been using for like 40 years, and unfortunately, I don't always catch when I'm not supposed to put it in there. They're all obviously responsible bidders. They are the lowest responsible bidder, but they're also one of the bidders that's actually certified to work on most of our equipment. We have different apparatus come from different companies. We have Pierce, we have the Boardman, we have to replace. We have the KME, and they're one of the major certified companies to work with all these different apparatus. They also are, if you, again, looking at what you're going to perform on one piece of apparatus over the course of the year, hopefully what you would have to perform on one piece of apparatus, over the course of the day would actually come out the lowest bidder. Again, what we look at is how much each apparatus we expect them to have in repairs over the course of the year. We actually have repairs by particular apparatus, and we look at how much, what will come up in future years, and we cost it out, and they came out the lowest on this one. The responsible is just, sometimes we'll include that in there because we feel the bid is not responsible, but this is the case, they all are actually obviously responsible bids.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
once more. On the police vehicles, we had to be within a 15-mile radius. Does the same not apply for fire?
It's, they don't require it. If you notice on here, there's actually a cost to charge
To and from the facility.
to and from the facility, right? So they actually charge a cost for going to and from the facility. We'll sometimes bring our apparatus to them, but we also have them come out. If they could do something at our location, we'll have them do it there, but if they have to bring it back to the shop, then we'll take the charge, or we'll have somebody bring it to them. But the problem with this one is, one, we're trying to attract as many vendors as we can, because, I mean, comparing the cost between this and the police and a normal vehicle, obviously these are very expensive costs. So we're trying to attract as many vendors or bidders as we can, and most of the bidders are out beyond the 15-mile radius.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and 7.
I move to authorize the town manager to sign a lease rental agreement with LDI Mohegan LLC for a rental of 19 copiers to be used by various town departments.
Second.
So we are at the end of a 4th year of a 5-year rental agreement for our 19 copiers that are used by the various town departments. We have been having a lot of problems with our copiers. So we went out on the state contract, and we found another group, LDI, who is going to buy out our lease. We're going to have a new term, and it's actually going to be cheaper for the town of Farmington. So I think this worked out very well for us. And everyone in the town hall and all the departments are going to be very glad to get new copiers, because they really have given us a lot of trouble.
Questions?
Just
CJ?
this is a decrease, monthly decrease on the 19 copies?
Yes.
Other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And 8.
I move to extend the contract between the town of Farmington and Waste Material Trucking Company of Farmington, Connecticut to provide for curbside collection of municipal solid waste recyclables and bulk waste for a 3-year period beginning July 1st, 2018 through June 30th of 2021, and to authorize the town manager to sign a contract extension with WMTC.
Second.
Kathy?
This is to extend our contract for 3 years. It would be with an increase in the 3-year contract extension with rate increases of 2% in the first year and second year, and 3% in the third year. Our company has not had an increase since 2012. We have used them for quite some time. We get a very, very reasonable rate from the contract. We are very pleased with their service, and I would definitely recommend extending the contract for another 3 years. One of the things that was brought to my attention and was asked upon is that one of the things, I'm not sure if they've talked about it recently, but they've talked about it in the past at the Green Efforts, and the council's talked about it, is about extending recycling maybe to once a week instead of once every 2 weeks. And one of the questions that I was asked is that if would Waste Material be able to change the contract if we wanted to do that? And they said that they would. I mean, obviously we'd have to negotiate the price to do it, but we could change up if we were going to change up our recycling or anything like that. So this wouldn't tie us to 3 years without any changes. And they've worked with us for many, many years. They were our contractor when we went to the carts. And there's, like I said, we get a very, very good price with them and good service. They're a local group, a local vendor for us.
Questions?
Madam Chair, Kathy, if there's an increase in our fees to Waste Material Trucking Company, but we're keeping the waste collection fee to residents the same for 2018, 2019, how does that balance out?
Probably shouldn't say this, but every year we factor in an increase that we anticipate. The way the current contract works is we're supposed to negotiate every April an increase. And what we've done since 2012 is we've agreed to extend the contract, but not have an increase. But in 2012, we factored into the 235 an increase for that. So the 235 will cover the increase, that plus the fact that our tonnage is going down. And so our fees to CRA are decreasing. Even though CRA's fees are increasing, our tonnage is going down, so we're saving money there, which offsets that. We've pretty much balanced it at the 235 for the past, I guess, 5 years now.
Right.
Because we're able to balance it off the tonnage and balance off the extensions and not granting increases. The increase is very minor, actually. This increase, total, this will be about a $6,000 a year increase to them. Their total contract is like $600,000. So it's not a big increase to them. It's not a lot of money to the town.
The other thing we've been doing too is, again, with our recycling, we get we get savings about that too, so that helps. But we're also banking some money within this account because of, we want to be able to buy new recycling bins. And in the past, we've had to do a big cash outlay and we had to jump rates up to pay for all the new bins. And now the bins only last a certain amount of money, and we've been saving money so that we can then start turning over and buying bins and different things. So this is run as a, what's the account called? It's like run like the water.
But actually, it's an enterprise fund, so what we do is we depreciate the carts every year over the course of 10 years. And when we depreciate the carts, we take that money, the cost of that depreciation, we actually set it aside to buy the carts. When we first bought the carts, we actually financed the carts over 6 or 7 years. And so we want to avoid doing that in the future. When we start doing wholesale changes, we want to be able to tap into a reserve to pay for the carts. The carts will cost us about $600,000 to $700,000 to replace. So we're building up that reserve so we don't have to finance it totally. We'll be able to use the money in our reserve to pay for that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, 9.
I move to add the following property to the 2018 blighted building list, 14 Blue Ridge Drive.
Second.
Yeah.
So, we all had heard Mr. Langlos talk a little bit today, and I definitely in the town, the objective is always to get the property cleaned up, and that's always our objective. We do have rules in place, and one of the things that I think it was inaccurate though is that he would be getting a fine of $100 a day. We have a lot of leeway on our fines, and what the town usually will do is that if it becomes on the blighted building list, it is used as leverage to make sure that people are following their timeline and making progress on what's going on. So they say, we need a 3-week schedule, look ahead, and if you don't accomplish what you're supposed to do in 3 weeks, we're going to start fining you $100 a week, let's say. And if they do start making the progress, then we stop the fining, and so that we do it. And it's really to get people, as you know, money is usually a motivator to have people get the work done. The property has been in a really disarray, a blight state since July 7, 2017. So we're going on, we're in May, right? We're in May, and not a lot of work. And I sympathize with what he has said, but that said, we do try to get the properties cleaned up, and usually the best way to do that is when it's been a long time and not a lot of progress has been made, is to put it on the blight list. So that was the recommendation, and like I said, we do try to very much work with people and not fine them, but it does give us leverage to say we are going to fine them if they don't do some of the work. And so, again, if he was making progress and he said on Saturday he was doing work on Saturday, we wouldn't be out on Monday giving a fine. We would, try to work with him. But if he said he was going to be out on a Saturday and he doesn't go out on a Saturday, then we'd probably write a letter and say we're going to start fining $100 a week. And unless there was really substantially not doing anything for a long period of time, then the maximum amount would be $100 a day.
Questions?
Madam Chair, Kathy, in terms of, I know that he came in January and he talked about the weather and stuff like that. So was all that when we went out there and checked his property, as you had indicated, that if he says he's going to be out there on a certain day to start cleaning up, and we go out there and he's not there, then has that been done during that time period when he was here in January to now?
Yeah, I think that, just recently there has been a little bit of work done like he said, but again, it's to be honest, it's been a struggle to get work done. And there's been the whole time, and it has been a struggle, and it's still in a pretty, not a really good state. But I think he is working towards it, but I think getting him on the list will give the motivation to keep him working. And the other thing just to note is that once you get a ticket and that says $100, you do have on a yearly basis, let's just say we collect, we have, $1,000 worth of tickets. We send a formal letter, and there is an appeal process, and they get to go to a hearing officer, and they get to talk to a hearing officer, and they can plead their case and say, listen, look how much I've gotten done, or I've done this. And the hearing officer has they can waive the fees, which a lot of times happens too. But again, it gives us the opportunity, the staff, to kind of give a push for people a property that has been difficult to get cleaned up.
So I just got two more questions.
Sure.
And then, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So I know he talked about that this is a place that he wants to retire, and my assumption here is he's not currently living there. No one lives there.
No one lives
okay.
there.
And then I guess in terms of, as he indicated with the weather, so are we saying that the weather really didn't have any impact in his ability to meet the standards that we put in place for him?
I think weather probably had some significance. I think that's a fair statement, but I also think that there hasn't been a lot of cleanup based on with the clean days. And again, it's difficult. It's in a perfect world, the priority to him would be anytime he has time, he should be over there doing it. But if the weather hasn't been good, sometimes he said that Saturday he was supposed to have people over, they didn't have to come. So again, I do have a tremendous amount of sympathy, but we do try to enforce the rules uniformly, and there is a process for him that he can appeal. And again, he may not even be ticketed, because if he keeps to his schedule, which
Sure.
Again, the schedule that he usually gives is that we try to have the person give a schedule that they actually can meet. If they only can work on, we want to see by Saturday, you've worked 3 Saturdays and you've done this, then that's good. Then that's, as long as you've made progress. And the building official, not the zoning official, really feels that it's been somewhat of, a push to get any work done.
Sure, thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm conflicted just because, I do have sympathy, but I guess one question I had is he talked about changing what one of the requirements was when it came to the trusses that were on his site because he had no place to put them. If we don't change that, technically, he could get fined. Is there any way we can
Yeah, I
Just
can,
maybe.
I can look into that. I don't know exactly what that means, like particularly. So, I mean, again, we really try to be flexible and try to help, move things along. And so, I mean,
I just don't know if that may make it easier for him to move forward if he doesn't have to ship them all out. That being said, that may be a huge part of it, so.
Right.
I don't know, it's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, like, we try to be reasonable. I don't know what that is, like, if you could put it somewhere that it's not being seen or something along those lines, or I don't know, but we can look at that. But, there's just a lot of stuff in the property, and we just really are trying to just get a basic cleanup.
CJ?
First, you mentioned the person who had brought forth the complaint was a neighbor who's no longer there. Have we heard anything from other neighbors?
Not to my knowledge,
Okay, because my thinking on this one, I mean, we've had a number of people over the years that I've sat up here on the blighted property list, many of which who don't even bother to show up. Maybe a representative for them shows up, maybe it doesn't. I would not be opposed to tabling this till next month if he shows progress again. It does seem like he put in a good effort these last few weeks, although it took him between January and this month to actually make those efforts. I would think if we indicated to him we would hold off for one more month if he showed equal progress to what he has done recently, that might be incentive to him, just listening to what he said tonight. So I would be open to that and bring it back up at our next month's meeting.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'm conflicted, to use Paul's words. I am also in agreement with CJ's comments of tabling this until next month. I appreciate that it's his schedule was submitted. I'm reading the recap originally in August 2017, and that not a lot of work was done at the end of last summer and fall. I am very sympathetic, however, to the weather that we had since he came before us the first time. For me, it was a weird season of weather between the snow and the rain and the late snow into April. And I'm inclined to see if the weather really was the excuse, to allow him another 30 days to demonstrate that he's continuing to work on it. In my mind, I would, in the alternative, if the council were to place the property on the blighted building list, I would appreciate some assurance from town staff that he would still have 30 days or some period of time to show progress before he saw fines on the work, just because we are now in, I hope, construction season and the ability to actually do outside work.
I would just chime in agreement with where Patty and CJ was going. The bad weather probably represented about at least a month lost work, and so it seems to make sense to try to postpone this for about that same time. But something that came to mind when he was here giving his comment is also, I think we have maybe some town resources, and I don't know how that's usually played out, Kathy, but I wonder if when someone's in a situation, some of the things I was hearing from him, if anyone ever reaches out to kind of work on some things with him or offer him some other services that could help him move forward. So not just on the blight, but it's also certainly things that are affecting his ability to make a lot of progress.
I can try to coordinate, connect him with Nancy Parent and social services.
That could be helpful. We certainly want to use the resources that we have in town. It's something that could help.
Other comments or? Where would you like to go with this?
I'd like to table it for 30 days.
Is that a
Do we
motion?
make a motion? I motion that we table
Paula?
this issue for 30 days.
Do we have to withdraw mine?
You're not going to table it, because table is within the same meeting. You're going to postpone it.
Postpone it for 30 days, thank you. I'll
Do
second.
we have to?
Motion and a second
Do-
to postpone.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was the second on that?
Paul? Discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with, I think, the consensus of the council here. I think, due to the weather, that certainly made it more difficult for him, and hopefully, he takes this olive branch as a means of motivation to make some real progress, and hopefully next month here, we're all happy to see that there's been a lot of progress, and we don't have to put him on the blighted list next month.
So that's postponed to the first meeting in June.
To the regular
June 12th.
council meeting?
Not fourth. Yeah, the June, the
Yeah,
fourth is
no.
our first meeting.
Yeah,
So we want it
second
to be
meeting.
postponed
The
to the
regular,
12th.
yeah.
Regular meeting.
The regular meeting.
I just want to make that clear.
I think we have too many meetings.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of postponing this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. N10.
I move to approve the following resolution, which is required for the SCG-1049 filing with the state of Connecticut, for the Farmington High School roof replacement project, which is scheduled to be undertaken this summer.
Second.
Kathy?
This is a state requirement, and that you're authorizing the Board of Education to serve as the building committee for the Farmington High School roof replacement project, and you're authorizing the board to apply for the grant and for the high school roof replacement project, and also to prepare the at least schematic drawings.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and 11.
I move to approve the following property tax refund totaling $1,958.12.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. On to executive session. Yep, go.
I move to executive session to discuss matters concerning collective bargaining. Attendance to this meeting will be limited to members of the town council, town manager, assistant town manager, and finance director.
Second.
Any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Just to note, there's no other executive session tonight.
Okay. So just this one?
Yeah.